My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. All right, we're looking at Romans chapter 8, where Paul talks about how the creation was, the eager expectation of the creation was eagerly expecting the manifestation of the sons of God. Now, what is this manifestation of the sons of God? Well, first of all, let me point out that the Greek word manifestation is apocalypsis. And the original meaning of apocalypsis, the primary meaning is, you pull back the veil. You reveal what's true. And thus, revelation of Jesus Christ is what the book of Revelation is all about. It's to draw back the curtain on who He is, what He has done, what He was about to do immediately from John's perspective. I've shared with you just a little bit that we have in the New Testament, all over the pages of the New Testament, a conflict between the Old Covenant seed, the Old Covenant sons of God, and the New Covenant sons of God. To fail to understand that so much of the controversy, so much of the persecution that Paul talks about right here in Romans 8, that came upon the early church, it came because they were proclaiming, we are the sons of God. And Old Covenant Israel, that had stood for 1,500 years as the people of God, were going, what are you talking about? You're a bunch of misfits from society. You got 12 apostles here, for crying out loud. Your movement doesn't amount to a thing in the world. Which, by the way, reminds me of all the modern day detractors. The preterist movement is so weak and it's so small. Just look at, they're just a handful of people. Oh boy. Anyway, I just get a huge laugh out of that every time I read that or I hear that. When people want to disparage and depreciate the growth of the preterist movement, they fail to even understand, it seems, that the same identical argument, if you can call that an argument, was made against Jesus and His band of 12 apostles. Look how small they are. Bunch of misfits anyway. Well, okay, all that aside, I just had to throw that in there. But the point of fact is that there was a humongous, pressing controversy, even during the ministry of Jesus. Who is Israel? Who constitutes the true people of God? Now I want you to notice in Acts chapter 3, Peter, standing there in the temple, rehearses and cites Deuteronomy chapter 18 and following, and the prediction that the days were coming in which the Lord said, I will raise up a prophet like unto you, to him the people shall give heed, and it shall come to pass that every soul that will not give heed to that prophet, he shall be utterly cut off. Well, Peter says Jesus was that prophet. And do you remember what Peter said? Peter said, it shall come to pass that whosoever shall not give heed to the words of this prophet. Now, the language of Acts 3 is extremely graphic, extremely powerful. Shall be utterly cut off out from the people. You catch the power of that? Peter is throwing down the gauntlet. Who are the people? Followers of Jesus, that's who. Oh, wait a minute, that can't be true. We, the Jews would have said, and undoubtedly did, we are the people. We follow Moses. Of course, Jesus said, no. If you followed Moses, you'd follow me. John 5. The controversy was about who are the sons of God. The old covenant seed began persecuting the new covenant seed. The old covenant, the people, began persecuting the new covenant, the people. And thus in Galatians chapter 4, Paul gave his allegory of how Ishmael persecuted Isaac. And he said, as it was then, even so it is now. That's Paul's now. In 49 to 50 AD, as it was then, even so it is now, the children of the flesh persecuted the children of the promise. What says the Scripture? Cast out the bondwoman and her son. That's Old Covenant Israel. That's the Old Covenant. For the children of the flesh shall not receive the inheritance with the children of the promise. What's Paul doing? He is identifying the true Israel. He is identifying the true people of God. And that's what's happening in Romans 8. I reckon that the suffering of this present time. What was the conflict? The conflict was between the Jewish community, who said they were the sons of God, and this upstart, small band of social outcasts. They're claiming to be the sons of God. They're claiming to be the true people. And that controversy swirled throughout the empire. Now watch this. Share this with you. I love this. This is absolutely fantastic. Now remember, Paul says that the resurrection, the day of redemption of the body, would be the time of the manifestation of the sons of God. Do you catch that? This is incredible. Jesus, speaking to the church at Philadelphia, wrote these words, or spoke these words, and John wrote them down, Revelation 3:9 and following. I will make those who are of the synagogue of Satan, I wonder who that is. That's Old Covenant Israel. That's the Old Covenant seed. That's the Old Covenant, the people. I will make those of the synagogue of Satan who say they are Jews and are not, but they lie. Wait a minute. Now look, if they were Jews following Torah, then how could they be liars? Well, because they're not following Jesus that Torah pointed to. He's not saying, hey, they claim to be Judeans, geographical reference. No. After all, if they lived in Judea, and if they came from Judea, they couldn't be lying about where they had lived, right? No, he's using the word Jew here in a very special sense. He's using the word Jew here in the sense of the true people of God. They claim to be Jews, but they're not. They're liars. Now watch what he said. Indeed, I will make them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. Oh, wait a minute. Old Covenant, the people, would bow at the feet of the New Covenant, the people. This is the manifestation of the sons of God. This would be at the destruction of the synagogue of Satan. Well, when was Satan going to be destroyed? Revelation 12 says it'd only be in a little while. It would be at the day of the Lord, and Jesus said, behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me. Folks, right here in Revelation 3 verse 9, we have a direct commentary on Romans chapter 8, and it would be at the judgment of Old Covenant Israel. Thus, the resurrection, which is the manifestation of the sons of God. When creation would be delivered into the glorious liberty of the sons of God, would be manifested. Well, we've got more on Romans chapter 8 and the manifestation of the sons of God. In the meantime, please get a copy of my book, The Elements Shall Melt with Fervent Heat, where you will find an incredible amount of material to convince you that Romans 8 is not talking about the physical recreation of physical earth. No, he's talking about the destruction of the old covenant world and the creation of a new covenant world, the consummation and perfection of the new creation that had already broken in to the old creation. All right, thanks again for joining me.